We have first speaker, Dr. Himanshu Patil, who is going to talk on reproductive endocrinology, cellular to genetic level. I'm sure it is very basic but very important. So may I call upon Dr. Himanshu Patil to present his lecture. Thank you.
A very good morning, everyone. Respected chairpersons, seniors, colleagues, and my dear friends. So at the outset, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to have a lecture on reproductive endocrinology, cellular to genetics. This is a very basic topic, so we cannot move ahead in infertility until we know the hormonal physiology. And by that I have this agenda. So we'll discuss the basics of the gametogenesis in male and female, the gender determination, the pituitary gonadal axis, the female reproductive physiology, and the male reproductive physiology. So we start with the gametogenesis, the sperm production. So during the development of germ cell, they are produced and remain quiescent until puberty. The process of sperm production involves spermatocytogenesis, spermatidogenesis, spermiogenesis, and spermiation. So the spermatozoa that are formed are initially unable to move, and then the flagella becomes motile. So this is the head, this is the middle connecting piece, tail, and the end piece. This is the oogenesis. So in the female gametogenesis, it results from the secondary oocyte. These stages involve oocytogenesis, ootidogenesis, and then the ovum, which occurs after the fertilization. So this is important. So the oogonium and the spermatogonium. Then we have the primary primary oocyte and the primary spermatocyte. And this involves the mitosis, and then the meiosis follows. So one primary oocyte will yield only one egg. However, one primary spermatocyte will yield 4 sperms. Then the gender determination. So 23 chromosomes donated by egg, 23 by the sperm, and then total we have 44 XY and XX. So XX, 1X and 1Y, and 1X and 1X from here. So will lead to female and then the male offspring. So gender determination, we have non-disjunction during the meiosis 1 and mitosis will lead to monosomy or polyploidy. Depending upon that, we have the Turner syndrome, which is fairly common in females. So we have this here. So only one X, which is the phenotypical female with only one X chromosome. And the features would include short stature, primary amenorrhea, elbow deformity, characteristic facial features, the thorax, and no menstruation. Then we have non-disjunction during meiosis 1 or 2 will lead to polyploidy. This will be XXY, and this will be called as the Klinefelter syndrome. That will be the primary hypogonadism in male, which unusually small testes and sterility, gynecomastia. However, the intelligence will be normal, and the chromosomal pattern, I think it's not very clear here, it would reveal XXY. Similarly, if it is XYY, we have Jacob syndrome, and if it is XXX, they can only be diagnosed on the basis of karyotype. However, they are otherwise normal females. Then we have the embryo. So the embryo, on the embryo, there is the sex determining region of Y chromosome, which determines whether the gonads will be developed into male or a female. So by that, if the SRY is present, it develops into the testes. If SRY is absent, it develops into the ovaries. This is very important from endocrinology perspective in presence of ambiguous genitalia. Then this is how it goes. So the SRY is differentiated into male, and in its absence it is differentiated into females. So we have finished with the gametogenesis and the gender determination. Now we come to the pituitary gonadal axis. So this is the central nervous system, which is the stimulus. So internal and environmental stimulus will initiate the gonadotrophin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, which would stimulate the anterior pituitary to produce LH and FSH. And this would then eventually stimulate the endocrine cells to produce estrogen and testosterone, respectively, in females and males, and which would then contribute to the gamete production. So then the basics of female reproductive physiology. So we divide the menstrual cycle into two phases, the ovarian cycle and the uterine cycle. Now I am amongst all the gynecologists, so I would not discuss details of the menstrual cycle, but I would just briefly go through this. So this would be three phases of ovarian cycle: the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, and the luteal phase. Three phases of uterine cycle: the menstrual phase, the proliferative phase, and the secretory phase. So the most important role here is they are all interlinked through hormones. So that is the role of endocrinology here. So with this early to mid follicular phase, if you see, it is predominantly estrogen in the ovarian cycle. If you see the late follicular phase and ovulation, it is high output estrogen and LH, which causes the ovulation. In early to mid luteal phase, it is increased estrogen, progesterone, and in the late luteal phase, it is increased FSH and LH. This is the ovarian. Then we have the combined gonadotrophic ovarian cycle, the ovarian hormone levels, and the uterine levels. So basically, it is the FSH that is there in the low FSH and LH in the menstrual phase. Then slowly they start increasing, and then there is an LH surge, and then the progesterone takes over. So this progesterone later on will come from the placenta. So what happens when the fertilization occurs? So basically this progesterone is later on taken over by the chorionic gonadotrophin and changes during the delivery. So all the hormonal changes that occur during the delivery is the progesterone levels will drop, the oxytocin and inhibin levels will increase, and then the result would be, this would be the outcome. So then we come to the male reproductive physiology. So we have the testis, the epididymis, the ductus deferens, and the accessory glands, which include the prostate, seminal vesicles, and bulbourethral glands, and the hormonal productions that govern these organs. So we have the main organ, that is the testis, which is the site of sperm production. Then we have the Sertoli cells, and then they contribute to AMH, inhibin activin, androgen binding proteins, and the estradiols and aromatases. Then we have the Leydig cells that produce androgens, testo-DHEAs. These are stimulated by the LH. The FSH increases in response to LH by the Leydig cells. This is again the diagram which is showing the Leydig Sertoli cells and the spermatogonium. And this is the spermatogenesis hormonal control. So again you have the gonadotrophin releasing hormone, the follicle stimulating hormone, then stimulating the testis, and then there is the testosterone which comes up. However, the spermatogenesis is under the influence of FSH. Then you have the role of the accessory glands. So the seminal fluid, it occupies 99% of the seminal volume. It contains mucus, water, nutrients, buffers, enzymes, prostaglandins, and zinc. The accessory glands which contribute include the prostate, the seminal vesicles, and the bulbourethral glands. Then we have the function of each and every component of the semen. So the mucus, it lubricates, water, it provides a liquid medium, buffers, they neutralize the acidic environment, nutrients for the nourishment of sperms, enzymes to liquefy the clot, zinc, so possible zinc, it gives nutrition. Then we have the prostaglandins which help in contraction and aid sperm transport. So what we have to remember is the function of the system is to help reproduce. The males contribute to deliver the viable sperm. It requires a complex neural reflex which contributes the erection and the ejaculation, which I'll come to it. So basically this is the last slide. So the reflex pathway of erection. So the stimulus is here tactile or visual or imaginary, and then this stimulates the autonomic pathway. So this would stimulate the parasympathetic pathway and inhibit the sympathetic pathway. Eventually lead to vasodilatation and erection. And then we have the ejaculation, which is under the control of sympathetic pathway. So basically, when we remember it as point and shoot. So point is indicative of parasympathetic and shoot is towards the sympathetic. So the erection is under the parasympathetic control and ejaculation is under the sympathetic control. And then the disorders include erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, and prolonged ejaculation. Thank you.